There are places that were once full of houses, businesses, trains, ships, and thousands of people. But when the jobs, water, or resources that sustained them disappeared, the residents left one by one. And because of this, the whole town was left in the middle of the desert until it was slowly swallowed by sand and intense heat. These are the forgotten places that were once full of life, but now quietly remind us how quickly a community can disappear. But before we start the discussion, I'd like to ask you to like the video and please subscribe to our channel. This is a huge help for us content creators. So let's get started. Number 12, Al Madam Ghost Village, United Arab Emirates. In the middle of the desert, in the United Arab Emirates, there is a small village that is slowly being swallowed by sand. This is called Al Madam Ghost Village. It is located in the Emirate of Sharjah, near the border of Oman. This village was built in the 1970s as part of a government housing project. Its goal was to provide permanent homes for Bedouin families who used to move from place to place in the desert. There are 2 rows of small houses and a mosque at the end of the village. The houses are simple. They are single-story. They have flat roofs, tiled floors, a bathroom, a kitchen, and rooms for the whole family. When the place was new, the houses were colorful. There were blue, green, yellow, and pink on the walls. But now most of them are filled with sand. Sand entered through the windows, doors, and small holes in the walls. In some houses, the sand is knee-deep. In other rooms, almost half of the wall is already covered. There are doors that can no longer be opened because there's a huge pile of sand on the other side. But why was the village abandoned? There isn't a single clear reason, but according to researchers, it's likely that the residents found life in the area too difficult. It's far from jobs, schools, hospitals, and big stores. Back then, the supply of water and electricity was also limited. The village was also often hit by strong sandstorms. When the wind was strong, the areas around the houses would quickly get filled with sand. While Dubai, Sharjah, and other cities were rapidly developing, many families chose to move to places with more jobs and services. By the 1990s, no one was living in the village anymore. But there's another story about the place. According to some locals, the village was abandoned because of the jinn. In Islamic tradition, jinn are supernatural beings that are not usually seen by humans. There are stories that say the residents were allegedly scared or driven away by the jinn. But up to now, there is no solid evidence to prove this story. It is more likely that the hardships of life, lack of services, and continuous sandstorms are the real reasons why people left. It is also important to clarify that not all of Al Madam is abandoned. There is still a modern town called Al Madam. The ghost village is just a small former settlement outside the main town. The mosque at the end of the village still stands. It's not as filled with sand because there are people who occasionally clean inside. Now, the place is visited by tourists, photographers, and content creators. But it's not just a scary village. It shows how quickly a country can change. The houses that were once built to protect people from the desert are now slowly becoming part of the desert itself. Number 11, Kolmanskop, Namibia. In the Namib Desert in southern Namibia, there is a former wealthy mining town that is now also filled with sand. Its name is Kolmanskop. Its story began in 1908. A railway worker named Zacharias Lawala saw a sparkling stone in the sand near the tracks. When they had the stone examined, they found out it was actually a diamond. The news spread quickly. Miners, businessmen, and families who wanted to profit from the diamonds found in the area arrived. Within just a few years, they built an entire town in the middle of the desert. Kolmanskop was not just a simple mining camp. It had a hospital, school, bakery, post office, power station, ice factory, ballroom, casino, and bowling alley. There were also large houses built in the European style. At that time, the area now known as Namibia was still under German control. That's why many buildings in Kolmanskop resembled the houses you would see in Germany. But life in the area was very difficult. It was extremely hot during the day. There was very little water. The town was also far from other communities. A lot of food, water, medicine, and other supplies had to be brought in by train. At first, a lot of diamonds were found in the area. There are stories that some miners would find diamonds right on top of the sand. But as time went by, the diamonds around Kolmanskop gradually decreased. Larger diamond deposits were also discovered in other places in the south. Because of this, the mining operations moved. Along with the relocation of mining, the town also lost jobs and income. The miners and their families left one by one. The hospital, school, casino, and other buildings closed down. By 1956, Kolmanskop was completely abandoned. After the people left, sand began to enter the buildings. It passed through broken windows, open doors, and cracks in the walls. In some rooms, the sand is knee-high. In others, it almost covers the entire floor and half of the wall. You can still see the faded paint and wallpaper inside the houses, but what used to be bedrooms, living rooms, and hallways now look like small sand dunes. This didn't happen in just one day. Each sandstorm brings in more sand. Every year, more parts of the town get covered. Now, Kolmanskop is one of the most famous ghost towns in Namibia. Tourists and photographers visit it because of the unique view of old houses filled with sand. But the place has a deeper story. Kolmanskop shows how a town quickly became wealthy because of a valuable mineral. It also shows how quickly a community can disappear when the reason for its existence is gone. Kolmanskop was built because of diamonds. When the mining moved, the people left as well. And when nothing was left, the desert quietly returned to reclaim the entire town. Number 10, the RLC Ship Graveyard, Uzbekistan. In the desert of Uzbekistan, there are large ships standing on the sand. They were not brought there. Before, there was a vast body of water in that place. It was called the Aral Sea. Even though it's called a sea, it's actually a large lake between Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan. Before, it was one of the largest lakes in the world. Many people made a living from fishing. There were ports, fishing boats, cargo ships, and fish processing plants. One of the towns that depended on it was Moynak in Uzbekistan. But in the 1960s, the lake started to shrink. The Aral Sea was filled by two large rivers, the Amudarya and the Sirdarya. During the time of the Soviet Union, a large portion of the water from these rivers was diverted into irrigation canals. The water was used to irrigate the vast cotton fields in Central Asia. Because of this, only a small amount of water reached the Aral Sea. Within a few decades, a large part of the lake dried up. The former seabed became a dry desert, now called the Aralkum Desert. As the water receded farther and farther, the ships that once docked in Moynak were left stranded on the dry land. Some ships were dismantled for scrap metal, but others were left behind and eventually rusted away. This is now called the Aral Sea Ship Graveyard. It wasn't just the ships that were affected. Because the lake shrank, the water became saltier, many fish died, and the fishing industry collapsed. Many fishermen and factory workers lost their jobs. The dry seabed also became a problem. The soil contained salt and chemicals. When the wind is strong, salty dust spreads to houses and farms. This can damage crops and harm people's health. The entire Aral Sea did not completely disappear. There is still water left in some parts of it. In Kazakhstan, the Aral Dam helped preserve the North Aral Sea and bring back some species of fish. But in the area near Uzbekistan, the dried-up land is still vast. Now tourists visit the rusty ships in Moynak. They are not just an unusual sight. They are clear proof of how an entire place can be destroyed because of the misuse of water. These ships used to float on the lake. Now they are stuck in the sand. Number 9, Dalol Ghost Town, Ethiopia. In northern Ethiopia, there is a place that is extremely hot, extremely salty, and full of dangerous chemicals. Its name is Dalol. It is located in the Danakil Depression, a low-lying area in the Afar region. Many parts of it are even lower than sea level. There is very little rain here, and the heat is intense. Temperatures often go above 40 degrees Celsius during the day. During the hottest times, it can reach almost 50 degrees Celsius. That's why Dalol is known as one of the hottest places in the world. The color of the ground here is also unusual. You can see yellow, orange, green, red, and white areas around here. These colors are not paint. These come from sulfur, iron, salt, and other minerals that rise from underground. Hot water and gas come out from the cracks. When these mix with the minerals, Colorful hot springs and small pools are formed. Some pools are very acidic and dangerous to touch. There is also sulfur gas in the area, so the smell is very strong. Because of this, it's not safe to get close without proper guidance and equipment. In the middle of the area, you can see the remains of an old mining settlement. In the early 1900s, potash and salt were mined here. Potash is a mineral used in making fertilizer. They built buildings, a railway line, and equipment for the miners. The community was small because it was created only for the mining operation. But working in Dalol was very difficult. It was extremely hot, far from big towns, and it was hard to bring in food, water, gasoline, and other supplies. Because of the difficulty of the operation, mining gradually declined. Eventually, the workers left and the buildings and equipment were abandoned. Now you can still see some ruined structures and rusty machines in the middle of the vast salt desert. It's important to clarify that not the entire Danakil Depression is abandoned. The Afar people have lived and traveled here for a long time. There are also workers who extract salt from other parts of the area. The only thing left behind is the former mining settlement in Dalol. The land here continues to change. Hot water and gas still rise up. Minerals around the area are still forming and dissolving. People tried to mine in one of the toughest places in the world. But when the operation was no longer practical, they left. The old town was left behind while heat, salt, acid, and sulfur continued to shape Dalol. Number 8. Rhyolite Ghost Town, Nevada. In the Nevada desert, there was a town that quickly became rich and just as quickly disappeared. This is Rhyolite, a ghost town near Death Valley. The town began in 1904 after Shorty Harris and Ed Cross discovered gold. When the news spread, thousands of miners and businessmen arrived. They built houses, stores, hotels, banks, a hospital, an opera house, and a train station. At its peak, Rhyolite's population was estimated to be between 5,000 and 10,000. But the gold wasn't as abundant as expected. In 1907, there was also a major financial crisis in America. The mines had a hard time getting money to continue operations. The mines and businesses closed down. People lost their jobs. That's why they left one by one. In just a few years, the once prosperous town was almost deserted. Today you can still see the remains of the bank, train station, jail, and a house made out of bottles. People now visit Rhyolite not for gold, but for its ruins. It was built quickly because of the promise of wealth. But when the gold and money disappeared, the whole town quickly vanished as well. No, 7 Humberstone in Santa Laura, Chile, in the Atacama Desert. In Chile, there are 2 old mining towns called Humberstone and Santa Laura. These were built for mining and processing saltpeter or sodium nitrate. This mineral is used in fertilizer and explosives. Back then, there was a high demand for this in different countries. Because of this, nitrate mining became an important business in Chile. Thousands of workers from Chile, Peru, and Bolivia lived in the mining communities in the Atacama Desert. There were houses, stores, schools, and markets. There were theaters, swimming pools, and large processing plants in Humberstone. But eventually, other countries learned to make cheap fertilizer using artificial ammonia. Because of this, the demand for Chile's natural nitrate decreased. The business declined. The mines closed and the workers gradually left. Humberstone finally closed in 1960. The houses, theater, swimming pool, and mining equipment were left in the middle of the desert. Many of the buildings are still standing because there is very little rain in the area. Today, UNESCO recognizes Humberstone and Santa Laura as a World Heritage Site. They are preserved because they are an important part of Chile's mining and labor history. Before, these 2 towns were full of workers and the noise of machines. Now, they stand quietly in one of the driest deserts in the world. Number 6, Coober Pedy, Australia. In the hot desert of South Australia, there is a town where many houses are hidden underground. This is Coober Pedy, a mining town known for opal. Mining started here in 1915 after a teenager named Willie Hutchison found opal. When the news spread, many miners arrived looking for precious stones. But there was a big problem. The heat on the surface was intense. So the miners dug homes in the soft sandstone. These underground homes are called dugouts. It's more comfortable inside because the stone doesn't heat up quickly. It's also not as cold at night as it is on the surface. Eventually, they built more than just simple houses underground. There are underground hotels, churches, shops, and other places that residents and tourists can visit. But it's important to clarify that not the entire town is underground. There are also many normal buildings and houses on the surface. Kuber Pedi is still alive and has residents. Opal mining still continues here, but a large part of the town's income now also comes from tourism. People visit this place to see how a community lives under the desert. Kuber Pedi is not abandoned. This is a living town that has learned to use the ground as protection against the intense heat. Number 5, the Uyuni Train Cemetery, Bolivia. Outside Uyuni in Bolivia, there are many old trains slowly decaying in the middle of the dry land. The place is called the Uyuni Train Cemetery. In the late 1800s, railways were built in Bolivia to transport minerals from the mines. This included silver, tin, and other minerals that were sent to ports in Chile. Uyuni was an important railway center back then. Every day, trains carrying minerals, equipment, and workers passed through here. But in the 1940s, the mining industry declined. The use of old steam locomotives decreased. They were also more expensive to maintain and operate. Because of this, many trains were abandoned outside Uyuni. Some important parts were removed, but the large bodies of the locomotives and railway cars remained there. For many years, they were slowly eaten away by rust. Today, the train cemetery is one of the well-known tourist attractions near Salar de Uyuni, the largest salt flats in the world. Visitors can approach and climb some of the old trains, but it is not a real cemetery. They are remnants of a time when the railway played a big role in mining and the development of Bolivia. In the past, they transported minerals from the mountains. Now they stand silently and are gradually decaying in the dry plains. Number 4, the Aircraft Boneyard, Arizona. In the Arizona desert, there are thousands of military aircraft parked in neat rows. These can be found at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, Malabi, near Tucson. The place is officially called the 309th Aerospace Maintenance and Regeneration Group, or AMARG, but it is better known as the Aircraft Boneyard. According to the United States Air Force, there are usually about 3,200 aircraft stored here. The facility covers approximately 2,600 acres. You can find old fighter jets, bombers, helicopters, transport planes, and other military aircraft here. But not all the planes here are junk. Some are being preserved for future use. Others are being stripped for parts to repair aircraft that are still active. There are also planes being repaired before they are given or sold to other countries. Some aircraft can also be returned to service if needed. Arizona was chosen because the air is dry and there is little rain. Because humidity is low, metal rusts more slowly. That's why many aircraft can stay here for a long time. From above, it looks like a huge parking lot for airplanes. They are quietly parked in the desert, but many of them can still have a new purpose. Number 3, Kuldara Village, India. In the Thar Desert of Rajasthan, India, there is an old village that hasn't had permanent residents for over 200 years. Its name is Kuldara. It was founded by the Paliwal Brahmins and became a prosperous community even in the dry desert. The residents were skilled in Paliwal farming and water conservation. They had well-built houses, roads, temples, and storage facilities. But in the early 1800s, the village was abandoned. According to a famous legend, a powerful minister named Salim Singh wanted to marry the daughter of the village chief. He allegedly threatened to punish the entire community if the family refused. Because of this, it is said that the residents of Kuldara and nearby villages left together at night. According to the story, they cursed the place so that no one else could live there. But this is just a legend, and there is no solid evidence to prove the curse. It's possible that the people left because of high taxes, lack of water, declining livelihood, or other problems in the area. It's also not certain if they all left in just one night. Today you can still see the walls of the old houses and the former layout of the streets. Most of the buildings no longer have roofs, but their stone walls remain. Kuldara is now a protected heritage site and is visited by many tourists. For some, it's just an old village abandoned because of harsh living conditions. But for those who believe in the legend, it remains a cursed place that was never inhabited again. Number 2, Kangbashi District, Inner Mongolia. In Inner Mongolia, China, there is a modern city that was once called a ghost city. This is the Kangbashi District of Ordos. This is not an old town or an abandoned mining town. It's a new city that was built in the early 2000s. Ordos used to earn a lot from coal and natural gas. That's why the local government built a new administrative center. It had wide roads, apartment towers, a museum, a school, government buildings, and shopping areas. The city was built for a large number of residents, but in the early years only a few people moved here. Many buildings were finished, but many apartments and roads were almost empty. Because of this, the international media called it a ghost city. But it's no longer correct to say that Kangbashi is abandoned now. According to the official census, there were over 118,000 residents here in 2020. Schools, offices, shops, and public spaces are also continuously being used. The city didn't fill up as quickly as planned, but it gradually gained residents, so Kangbashi is not really a ghost town. It's a city that was built before most of the people who would live here arrived. Number 1, Gaochang and Jiaohe, China. Near Turpan in Xinjiang, China, you can find 2 ancient cities that were once part of the Silk Road. These are Gaochang and Jiaohe. The Silk Road was once a vast network of routes that connected China, Central Asia, the Middle East, and Europe. Silk, food, metals, religions, and many other things passed through here. Gaochang was a large city with walls, temples, houses, markets, and government buildings. Because of its important location, many traders and travelers passed through here. Jiaohe, on the other hand, was built on a high, narrow strip of land between 2 valleys. Its sides are steep, so it was naturally protected against enemies. You can still see the old roads, houses, temples, and other buildings made from hard earth today. Over time, the 2 cities weakened due to war, changes in trade routes, and water problems. Eventually, their residents abandoned them. Jiaohe was completely abandoned around the 1400s after a long period of turmoil and decline in trade. Today, Gaochang and Jiaohe are no longer inhabited cities, but their ruins remain as proof that they were once important centers of trade and culture on the Silk Road. They were once filled with merchants and travelers. Now, only old walls and quiet pathways remain in the middle of the arid land.